I want to talk about Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for a second, who by any stretch is a remarkable leader. However, there is one thing that I think is a bit of a issue that needs resolving in his leadership. And it's a bit of a common theme. And I think this video that I just came across gets to the heart of the issue. And actually, though it may sound strange to you, I think that if this could be fixed, it would actually really help Israel's standing in the international community. Not that our policies should be dictated by that. Our policies should be dictated by what we need to do for our own security and long-term prospects. But it happens to be that I think if we came out of this mindset, it would help as well in the international arena. Have a watch of this clip of Yishai Fleischer talking to the former, I believe it was deputy chair of the Knesset, deputy speaker of the Knesset, Israel's parliament. Have a watch.
Who is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu? Who is this man?
The Netanyahu person, the individual, is an amazing individual.
Right.
I mean, he's the most talented leader of all. All the other candidates doesn't go any near to his abilities, right? But it doesn't matter. In Netanyahu GPS app, Waze, everybody knows what Waze is.
Yeah,
okay? At the place where you should put the address.
Right.
There's a room only for one kind of address. The place where you're right now. He has a tremendous app, the best one, that can take you around and up and down and shortcuts and back and da-da-da-da-da. But only if it brings you right back to where you are now. The only thing that Netanyahu had in his mind, and I'm telling you it's from knowing him from when...
Certainty.
Certainly. The only thing that Netanyahu had in his mind at the 7th of October is how to go back to the 6th of October.
Right.
Not how to take this terrible opportunity to a different place, but how to go back to where we were before.
I'm afraid I have to completely agree. I don't want to take away from the fact that I believe he's trying his utmost to serve Israel and has shown such bold steps. But there's so many examples where he is just clearly trying to protect Israel's security and the vision is maintain the status quo. What's the long-term vision with Gaza and the Arabs living in the West Bank and Judea and Samaria? What are you going to do? 2-state, 1-state? What's it going to be? Trump's plan? The UN's plan? What? He won't say. And with Iran, we have the most incredible operation destroying their nuclear programs, but doesn't finish the job, doesn't turn around to Trump and say, actually, no, we're going to destroy this Iranian regime who will otherwise build and continue their state sponsorship of terrorism. You could say the same with getting Hezbollah. You could say the same with the Gaza war. Why has it needed to take so long? To protect Gazan civilians, you will say, to protect the hostages. Unfortunately, if you allow them to dictate how we fight, first of all, you end up losing the support of the international community because it's just, you're going to testing them if it takes too long. It plays to Hamas's game, which is to try and create a long-term war, and thus the international community get tired of supporting Israel and they end up turning on Israel. But also it ends up meaning that you negotiate with the terrorists, because letting them dictate the terms of war incentivizes them to take more hostages and allows them to dictate the terms of engagement. I'm not claiming that there are easy choices here, but I do think when people say, you can't occupy people indefinitely, they've got a point. But we need to provide an alternative to a two-state solution. I say the President of the United States, for example, has suggested something completely reasonable, relocating Arabs to other parts of the Arab world to which they are indigenous, given the fact that for 100 years Israel has tried to have a two-state solution, has tried to live alongside them. They have chosen war and genocide every single time. They've blown their opportunity now, and at some point you have to say enough's enough. You've shown that you're not really interested in Palestinian statehood, you're just interested in destroying the Jews, and therefore, let's move you to another part of the world where you can have a better life, let alone Israel. You can have a better life as well. But it looks like, for some reason, something is holding Prime Minister Netanyahu back at times, and I feel a little bit guilty saying these kind of things, because I sort of feel like, who am I? I don't know all the pressures and issues. that goes on behind the scenes. But I can tell you something. This person that spoke here, Moshe, he does know. He is an insider. And something is holding us back from stating the bold truths and making the bold decisions. This notion of Israel having an endlessly long war, where it's like you do a bit here, a bit there, a few hostages come out here, a few hostages there, going in kind of dribs and drabs, as Trump once said. It's cruel to both sides. It's actually like doing a surgery where you just do like a bit here, a bit there, a bit there. I actually think if Israel went in hard and comprehensive on October 8th, even if there was a lot more collateral damage, I actually think the international community at the time would have had a lot more time for it. Again, this is not to say that Israel should dictate its policies based on international community. It just happens to be. And I think the reason for that is because, and this may surprise you, but I actually think that most people can resonate with the truth if you state it and act alongside truth boldly. Torah teaches to fight a war swiftly and comprehensively. Peace through strength. Not negotiating with terrorists. We think that people are necessarily against Israel. You know, the truth is a funny thing. Regardless of where people are, regardless of their ideologies, it's very hard to deny it. People resonate with it. And when Israel acts with what Torah tells us is true and right, will be respected. When I was watching this video, it happens to be a friend earlier shared with me something that I think summarizes exactly what this critique is of Prime Minister Netanyahu. Written by a great man called Moshe Koppel in Israel. A great thinker, works for created a think tank, I think, called the Kohelet Policy Forum. And he wrote this. In Parshat Vayishlach, which is a Torah portion in Genesis, we read of Jacob wrestling with an unnamed figure. The brief story is filled with mystery. Its connection to the larger narrative of Jacob's journey home isn't immediately clear, and the enigmatic conversation between Jacob and his anonymous opponent hints at deeper meanings. This is why the Rambam, Maimonides, counts it among those biblical stories that should be read as prophetic visions rather than historical accounts. By looking closely at the details and incorporating insights from Torah sources, we can uncover a reading that reverberates throughout Jewish history. The story takes place at the Yabok crossing, which Deuteronomy identifies as the boundary of the territory settled by the tribes of Gad and Reuben, essentially the outer edge of Jewish settlement. Jacob has brought his family across, but remains alone because, as the Midrash cited by Rashi explains, he's gone back for some trifles. At this pivotal location, each detail of the story takes on deeper significance. When Jacob brings his family across but returns alone for trivial items, we see the first hint of a pattern. When he wrestles until dawn with a mysterious man, whom the Midrash identifies as Esau's guardian, we begin to see a broader meaning emerge. The struggle that leaves him limping, followed by the puzzling exchange about names and blessings, completing this pattern. What unfolds here is more than just a personal encounter. Jacob, standing at the threshold of the promised land, signals his descendants' future journey. His hesitation over small possessions mirrors a deeper uncertainty about moving forward. His night-long struggle with this heavenly representative of the nations foreshadows the travails of his descendants. Seen this way, the story reflects deeply on exile and return. It points to a time when the Jewish people will stand at the edge of return to their ancestral homeland, but hesitate to take the final step. As dawn approaches and the wrestling match winds down, the man can't defeat Jacob, but strikes his sciatic nerve. Just as when the period of Jewish redemption dawns, the nations will be unable to prevent it, but they'll be able to slow the Jews' progress by inducing a loss of nerve that turns their confident walk into an uncertain limp. When dawn breaks, it is not Jacob, but the man who asks to disengage. foreshadowing the nations of the world beseeching the Jewish people to just go home. And it's Jacob who holds back, insisting on receiving a blessing before letting go. The blessing comes as a change in identity. He is no longer Jacob, the younger brother clutching his elder's heel, but Israel, one who struggles to be free of his brother and prevails. Yet Jacob, not quite ready for this new self, first wants to know his opponent's name, suggesting a people with an exaggerated need to fully understand the cultures of their exile before they can finally leave them behind. The man's response, that his name doesn't matter, becomes the final push forward. As the sun shines brightly in the sky, Jacob heads off to his destination, blessed but still limping. And the Jewish people refrain from eating the sciatic nerve until this very day. I think there's a lot to consider here. You know, it's amazing, by the way, that throughout Jacob's life, he's referred to as Jacob, which means a heel, to go around, and that was his life. He often had to go around issues, go around his brother Esau to get the blessing. He had to deal with all kinds of difficulties and travails in his life, working for Lavan, who tried to swindle him. And then he confronts Esau head on at the end. And when he finally confronts, rather than dancing around issues, he's renamed Israel. And it's amazing. The sages of the Talmud tell us that just as among the forefathers, so too will Jewish history bear out. And isn't it amazing that the nations of the world and the Jewish people agreed that the land and the name of this land, that their state that they would create, re-establish after 2,000 years of exile, would be the state of Israel, which showed finally a new type of chapter in Jewish history emerging, one where the Jewish people were no longer being pushed around in exile, but now were starting to reclaim their destiny with their land, and as a people that was finally able to stand up for itself and its sovereignty and its right to be in their home. Amazing stuff. As the sages of the Talmud say, turn it, for you will find everything within it. Before we finish, I just want to share with you something really important. We are told that Israel's actions are the cause of the Israeli-Arab conflict, but we've just released a groundbreaking documentary proving that Arab Islamic Jew hatred far predates Israel's re-establishment. This is a critical fact that everyone needs to learn about. Have a watch of our trailer for our new JTV Plus documentary entitled Arab Anti-Semitism Before Israel's Re-establishment. Picture yourself, it's 1834 and you're a Jew living in Tzfat, which is a northern city in Israel, then under the Ottoman Empire. Your family is part of this ancient city's spiritual heart for generations. You study Torah, you trade in the market, and live quietly among your Arab neighbours. But one day, a mob storms your street, shouting, "Kill the Jews!" Your home is looted, your synagogue burned, your loved ones beaten. This isn't about Israel. Israel won't exist for 114 years. This isn't about settlements, the IDF, or the 1948 displacements. This is raw, violent hatred aimed at you for being a Jew. And it's not just in Palestine, it's part of a centuries-old story of anti-Semitism woven into Arab and Islamic history, from the dawn of Islam to the streets of Hebron. The claim that this conflict began with Israel's creation, the Nakba, or modern policies, is a farce, a distortion that collapses under history's magnifying glass. Welcome to JTV Plus. I'm Ollie Annisfeld, and today we're uncovering a history too often buried, the relentless anti-Semitism among Arabs in Palestine before 1948, rooted in a broader Arab and Muslim hostility that began with Islam's inception in the 7th century. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.